Take it! Here is my recap for Dexter Season 5, Episode 3, entitled Practically Perfect. This was kind of a very fun and a little bit of an interesting episode. We come off the episode prior to this. One thing I forgot to mention in the episode prior to this is that Batista ended up having a bar fight with another cop who started calling his wife some very nasty names and said I'm not going to say what she said, but what he said about her, but that's what instigated the fight. And in this episode, you find out that particular cop is pressing charges on Batista because there are witnesses saying that Batista kicked him when he was on the ground, and that guy collapsed at work prior to internal affairs going in and talking to LaGuerta about this situation. This happened towards the end of the episode, and said that cop collapsed at work and is expected to pull through, but is definitely has some internal bleeding and some other things going on. And they think that's because of Batista. So we're going to see what ends up happening with that. Both him and Masuka ended up fighting a couple of the cops there that day at that bar. So we have that little side story there with LaGuerta and with Batista. They're still trying to figure out what's going on with these murders, with the people getting their eyes cut out, their tongue cut out. In this episode, Deborah ends up enlisting the help of the cop who told her about this voodoo type thing going on there, and that everyone was going to be afraid to talk. So they enlist her help, and they start canvassing the neighborhood to see if anybody will give them any clues as to what happened. So they end up going to this one place where they sell a lot of religious artifacts and, little knickknacks and things. And they were able to get somewhat of a lead. Well, later on in that episode, that guy who helped them gets his eyes cut out and his tongue cut out. So there's definitely something going on with this, what she seems to think is witchcraft, this other cop that they enlisted the help of. So we're going to see where that progresses in the coming episodes. All right, so now for the part with Dexter, which is the interesting part. So we found in the last episode that he had just found all these dead women in this swamp, and he wants to kill Boyd Fowler. That's the guy's name who does the roadkill. So in this episode, he concocts this scheme, follows Boyd around, and ends up outside this kind of like a deli where he's sitting outside, trying to get his attention to look at him. And finally he does, and he comes over and sits with Dexter, says, what are the chances, and they strike up a conversation, and Dexter gives himself a different name and says that he's in between jobs and he's looking for a job. And that's when Boyd Fowler tells him, you know what, we could use you. Meet me tomorrow at 8 a.m. and we'll go and you can work with me. So Dexter decides, great, this is a great time to kill him. So he goes and it has this plan to call in this Gator Attack in this one location on Boyd's route. And there's an abandoned building there. So Dexter sets up the kill site prior to meeting up with Boyd the next morning. Meets up with Boyd, waits for most of the day up until almost after lunchtime, waiting for them to call about this Gator. Actually, Dexter called before 8 a.m., was hoping that they would call it in, and they really hadn't. So 8 a.m. rolls around. Well, lunchtime rolls around, and Boyd says, we can go to this next call or we can go get lunch. Dexter says, well, we can go to the next call. And that's when all of a sudden the call comes in, and it's for the Gator. So Dexter goes and gets ready for the kill, and Dexter goes and gets him with, the syringe. And at the same time, Boyd shoots him with a tranquilizer dart. So they both end up passing out, and they both wake up getting loaded onto an ambulance, getting sent to the hospital. And boy, do they have a staring contest on the way there and also at the hospital. And Boyd tries to get up and get the upper hand on Dexter and try to take him down, but Dexter was already gone. So Boyd goes home, and he ends up at home and gets taken down by Dexter. And if you watch the episode, you'll understand where the take it comes from that I did at the beginning of this review. But Dexter does end up taking him down there and tells him, I had this whole elaborate thing set up, but you kind of ruined that. So now we got to do it here. Paints him a picture of what happened and ends up killing him. And then discovers that in that last episode, we talked about how he had a door with a bar kind of on it just to hold somebody in, basically, which you would assume what he did with the women. Yeah, there's a woman there that Dexter sees that actually saw the whole thing of Dexter killing Boyd, and she kind of collapses in his arms, and that's how the episode goes to black, is him holding this girl. Now, there's also a little bit of the side story where Quinn is thinking that Dexter's involved with the Trinity killer case as the guy that they're looking for. So he calls up the FBI and says, I think I may have a lead on the Trinity killer and the guy that you're looking for. I need to talk to the family. And the FBI tells him they're in the process of going into witness protection and they're at a safe house right now. And he says, look, I only need a few minutes. I need to show them a picture, drop a name, and see if this is who they're talking about, because he thinks it's Dexter. And that's when the FBI agent says, you can send the information to me. I'll show him. He goes, it's too sensitive. If I'm wrong about this, it could be my job, my career. So I need to do this personally. So the FBI agrees, okay, I'll let you come in and take care of it yourself. So we're going to see where this leads to. So Quinn's kind of on the trail of figuring out who Dexter is. And we've got some other stuff going on. We also had at the beginning of this episode, Dexter is looking for a nanny. And we had Deborah giving the people applying for the job the third degree, like they were being interrogated. Finally, Dexter ends up picking someone who ends up helping them a lot during this episode, both him and Deborah with the baby. So we're going to see where that leads as well. But right now they do have a nanny. And actually, Dexter had to call when he went to go kill Boyd. He was going to be late. So he had to call and tell her, I'm going to be late. And she said, I have no problem with that. I just got called. Deborah called me and said she's going to be late too. So I have no problem sitting here with Harrison. I like watching him sleep. So she goes, I do want you to know that Harrison took his first steps today. So she sent Dexter a picture of Harrison walking. So Dexter actually got a smile on his face. So he's definitely got some feelings. He's more human than he ever thought he was. And we got quite a few things happen in this episode. It was kind of a fun episode, interesting episode. We'll see where episode 4 goes. But that is my recap for Dexter Season 5, Episode 3, entitled Practically Perfect. We'll see you guys on the next one.